Hey, it's Iris helping you to find your passion and make it your work. And welcome to the final video on my YouTube channel of 2020. Gosh, what a year it's been, hey? So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing what I do differently if I were to start my business now. So if you are just starting out, or if you simply wish you were further ahead than you currently are, then stay tuned. I think you're going to like today's episode. And whilst you're here, if you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button and consider subscribing to my channel. It will mean the world to me because it helps me to reach more people, grow my channel, and make a bigger impact with the work I do. All right, let's get to it. So this video came about because I posted a video on Instagram the other day asking people what they'd like to see on my YouTube channel. And the topic that I'm talking about today was a firm favorite. So that's why we're here. Now, if you want to have a say in what I post here on my YouTube channel in the future as well, then make sure you go follow me on Instagram. It's right here. All right, so what would I do differently if I were to start my business now, if I were to start my business today? The first thing, I'd stop thinking that everything I put out has to be perfect. So here's a question. Do you compare yourself and the work you do with others in your field? Now, there's nothing wrong with that in itself unless you compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 20. Now, what I mean with that is this. When I started out, I used to compare myself to the likes of Marie Forleo, Amy Porterfield, Mastin Kipp. Maybe you don't know who those are, maybe you do, but they are all people who had at least a decade more experience working in the space of personal development than I do and than I did at the time. Now, I didn't want to be like them, but I expected my work to be of the same standard as theirs. So I would look at the videos I put out and kind of thought, well, if I do something like that, it has to be of the same quality. And if I can't produce something that's of the same quality, then why even bother? I would look at their websites and see how slick they were and thought that my website had to be just as slick. I basically thought it was pointless to put out anything unless it was at least as good as theirs quality-wise. But that's just crazy because that's a bit like learning to play the piano and expecting that you're as good as Mozart right from the get-go. So here's what I do differently. I would allow myself to just start and not compare my chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 20. I'd focus on doing the very best I can do and accepting that things might be not 100% perfect, at least according to my own high standards. I take myself less seriously and allow myself to play with things more. I'd allow myself to try different things out and less so focus on the end result, but just focus on what I'm learning and how I'm getting better at something. Now, by the way, if you want to learn and get better and you want to turn that passion of yours into a business, then make sure you check out my Business Bootcamp Masterclass. This is a free 1-hour masterclass in which I'm sharing the 4 pillars that you should be focusing on in your first years of business to establish yourself, build your brand, and start attracting clients. I'll add the link to that in the description below this video. All right, so the second thing I do differently is see people who are further ahead of me as role models instead of competition. So for years, I had this mindset that little old me was competing with the likes of Marie Forleo, Amy Porterfield, Mastin Kipp, or anyone who was further ahead than me. And I asked myself, why would anyone want to work with me when they can work with the likes of those people? So I always saw them as competition. And it really damaged my confidence. Now, it took me years to overcome this super limiting belief. And I really wish that I would have seen those people much sooner as role models instead of competition. Because here is the thing. You can learn so much from people who are further ahead than you are. Their success leaves clues about what works and perhaps what doesn't work. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just take some time to study their journey and to figure out what helped them most to get to where they are now. So watch interviews with them, watch talks with them, read feature articles, read their books or anything that tells you more about what helped them to get to where they are now. And then simply replicate the steps that they've taken. Don't copy them or who they are or what they offer, but simply look at the steps that they've taken and start taking the same steps. All right, moving on to the third thing I do differently today, and that is not wasting so much time naming and renaming my business. Gosh, the time I wasted brainstorming names for my business, then buying domain names, then creating logos, and then changing it all up again later down the line. So when I first started my business, I called it Dig Mondays. Then I changed it to, The London Career Coach. Then I changed it to Iris Smith, The London Career Coach. And finally, I settled on simply Iris Smith. Now, what I realized from doing all of this is that one, I could have used that time so much better elsewhere. And two, don't overcomplicate these things. Just keep it simple. Don't waste hours trying to come up with something clever or good. Now, there is something to be said for using your own name as your business name, especially if you're providing a service. But at the same time, there's also something to be said for using something else as your business name, especially if your name is either difficult to spell or difficult to remember. If I were to go back in time, I'd probably name my business something like Coaching with Iris, simple as that. As my maiden name, I wasn't married at the time, is Laurens, which is a pretty common and normal name in Holland, where I'm from, but it's pretty unpronounceable and very difficult to remember in the rest of the world. Iris, Lauer, what? All right, so the final thing I would do differently if I were to start my business now, or if I could go back in time and do it all over again, is start my YouTube channel sooner. Or at least I started with video sooner. Because one of the things I've learned is that video is super powerful when you're building your business. It has one of the highest engagement rates on social media platforms, and search engines like Google absolutely love video. So it can do wonders for your discoverability. So I highly encourage you to start playing with video content. And I'm saying playing because you don't need to take it too seriously. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. Perfection is dead. And it doesn't matter if it's here on YouTube or if you start it on Instagram through Instagram Reels, Instagram Stories, Instagram Lives, whatever it is. Start experimenting with it and start playing with video now. Now, I've only started my YouTube channel about 6 months ago. And since then, the growth has been slow and steady, nice and consistent, nothing spectacular, but I've already seen the huge impact and positive difference it's made to my business. Not only has it boosted my confidence, because I used to be terrified of being on video, believe it or not, but it's also boosted my website traffic, my exposure, and people get to see the work I do and what I stand for without me having to sell it to them. All right, that's all I had for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched up until here, then you must have liked it. So please hit that thumbs up button and leave a like. And as I said, if you want to turn your passion into a business, then make sure you go check out my Business Bootcamp Masterclass, completely free, and it will help you to understand what you should be focusing on in those first years of business, so you don't end up wasting time, money, and energy and things that don't really matter right now. All right, thank you so much for watching. If you want to stay up to date on future videos that I'm posting, then hit that subscribe button or subscribe to my email list over on irissmith.com. I'll also add the link to that in the description box below this video. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas. Have a great end of the year, whatever that great might feel like, because I understand this is a very different world that we're in today. So whatever you need, take that, and then I'll see you in 2021. Bye.